Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Hello, Hypnosis World. It is Judge Mentalist, your host again. The Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast, as you can see from the background. Yet another slide that I've misspelled. That's only 2 out of about 20 of these talks. So I think that's okay for this time through. I will clean it up in post, so to speak. Here for another wonderful preview talk for the Michigan International Hypnosis Conference. This is one where we're going to be on the clinical side of things. And if for some reason, and this really shouldn't apply to anybody watching this at this point in time, but if you are somehow not registered for this fantastic conference yet, time is ticking. You basically have the upcoming weekend to do so, and then you are out. It's my understanding that the room block at the hotel has sold out. So if you are coming late, you either got to find somebody to room with or you got to stay somewhere else, which is, it's not the best part of the conference. So too bad. Do it early next year. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today. Again, as you have seen, as you have noticed, Michigan Hypnosis Conference is great at bridging the entire spectrum of interests of hypnosis between performance and clinical and really everywhere in between. So we are going to be going over to that clinical side. We're going to be talking about pain relief, pain management with Nora Knople. Good afternoon, Nora. How are you?
I am well. How are you today?
I'm doing well. See, at least I can pronounce it right, even though I didn't spell it right.
You got it correct.
As we joked around earlier, the K at the beginning of your last name is silent, and here so far it's also invisible. So if I can make fun of somebody, it's certainly going to be me on that mistake. So we'll start this off the same way we start all of these. Let's get a little bit of background for anybody who is somehow unfamiliar with you, how you got to where you are now and what it is that you do. And then we'll jump right into just a few weeks away and your talk in Michigan.
Yeah. So I have been a hypnotist for going on 25 years. It'll be 25 years in January. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, honestly. And so when I first came on the scene, I've been a student of hypnosis since the 90s. And I came into hypnosis, quite honestly, as a consumer first. I think that's how many of us find our way. We either saw a stage hypnosis show and we were like, oh, that's cool. Or we needed help somewhere along the way and also found that cool. So I still don't really niche in anything, but pain management seems to be the niche that found me.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So we've been doing hypnosis, like I said, for 25 years. And how the pain management side found me was I have a practice here in Norwalk, Ohio. So for people who are like, where's Norwalk? I always tell people I'm like 10 minutes from Cedar Point. People know where the amusement park is. Pain management found me because I had a local physical therapist who they'd get people to a certain point, right? Their patients were compliant. They were doing all the things right, but they still weren't getting relief. And the physical therapists and the doctors really just didn't know why. So they said, hey, we've seen you help other people in the past. Do you think there's something you can do on the emotional, spiritual side of things with hypnosis? And I said, well, of course. I'm happy to talk to them. And so out of that kind of grew this holistic pain management side of things. And so, yeah, that's kind of been one of my, like I said, that niche found me. But I'm one of those people that if people pick up the phone and they call and say, I've tried everything else, nothing else has worked, I feel hopeless, I'm going to find a way to help them. If I have a niche, that's one. I don't say, I have a hard time saying no to people.
Understandable. I mean, when you're a healer, when you're a helper, you want to find opportunities to help. It's either in your blood or it's not, I think. Yeah. And one of the things So I can relate to this to some extent, because my daytime job, my real job, is being an attorney, primarily dealing with folks who have suffered injuries. So seeing how routine PT with full compliance, doing the entire program, sometimes for a variety of reasons, get folks just to a certain point. And sometimes that's the limitations of physical therapy. A lot of times, and I know that you deal with this, we haven't talked about it, but I know that
Mhm.
it's the limitation of that person's mind. They've dealt
Yes.
with that pain for so long that they expect that pain. And as a result, that pain stays.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to.
No.
And that's, obviously that's where you taking that next step for them and really releasing the sticky elements, I guess, of the pain
Yeah.
that are going to linger, because we don't on our own often know how to make those go away, no matter how compliant, no matter how skilled the physical therapist is and otherwise.
Mhm.
But yeah. So you're coming to Michigan.
I am.
You're giving a talk on this. What can we expect? Because I think this is it's an incredibly hot topic, and I think that as a country, the push seems to be starting to try to get people away from hard drugs, which oftentimes
Mhm.
lead to addiction. And of course, those manifest most often in a pain context. So I think that while, of course, you're quite successful at what you're doing, I think that a wave is coming where your high demand days haven't even started yet. You might feel like they have, but I think in the near future, pain management through alternative methods are going to be even more in demand than they are now.
I would agree. We're starting to see that influx for a variety of reasons. One of them being here, at least in Ohio. I mean, and we're seeing this in other states too. So previous to my term ended on June 1st, but I served on our local mental health and addiction services board. And so one of the things we saw here in the opioid crisis was, the opioids served a purpose for the period of time that the person might have needed them for pain. And then in some people that spurred off into addiction, right? We see that quite chronically throughout the country. And once we started to really, once the lawmakers and the powers that be started to really crunch down on the opioid usage, we started to see an influx here, because people were like, they were hopeless. They're like, now this thing that I felt like was helping me, it's been taken away from me, and I need to do something. And not all of those people fell into the lines of addiction necessarily, but this thing that was once prescribed them that was helping them long term was no longer going to be afforded to them. So how do we do that? How do we look at that? And sometimes that means kind of reclassifying how, like you said about, that mindset, how they look at their pain, how they look at their lifestyle, how they look at that relationship. Because quite honestly, that's what they've done. They've built a relationship with the opioids. They build a relationship with the pain. It's become a part of their persona. And helping them to kind of to reshift that, to recategorize or reclassify that in their life is a big part of what I do. So in the conference, I'm not want to give away all of my
no
secrets,
big spoilers. This is all about tease. Okay, we're here to tease.
Yeah. So, but what you're going to hear is transparency about how I've been able to branch my hypnosis practice out into the mainstream, and make it mainstream. Because here in my community, it wasn't. For 20 some years, what I did was weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's that weird lady that has this office and we don't talk about her, right? And then I started to step into.
There have been movies written about you.
Yes. Oh, and I hear about them when I go out and they do the wellness things. Have you heard about this? Are you going to make me do that? And I'm like, I don't even know that reference. Now I got to go watch this movie. But what happened was I dared to step into those places where people told me I shouldn't. Right? What business do you have talking to doctors about hypnosis? You're not a medical person. what business do you have talking to physical therapists? And I'm like, well, what business do I have keeping my mouth shut when I know what I do helps people? So what you're going to get is that
if you're going to do what you're doing ethically, and somebody were to come to you independent of that doctor and say, I need your help with this, are you not obligated to circle back to that doctor, consult with them, and make sure that they are where they present to you as being?
Obligated, yes. Ultimately there are other factors that could go into why I might not consult with the doctor, especially if a person had a bad experience there. But absolutely encouraging my clients to sign ROIs, release of informations, and say, this can be a collaborative thing. Maybe there are things that you're not understanding about your care, right? That'll be beneficial for me in the capacity to be able to see the whole picture, to know how I can best help you. So yeah, where it's applicable, where it's appropriate, absolutely having those release of informations and talking to everybody that is pertinent to this situation. And you'd be surprised at where that goes, because a lot of times, and this speaks to the holistic side of it, is people come in and they're like, I had this illness or I had this injury, and that's what's caused me to feel this pain, right? And that's all well and good. And they think that that's the root cause of why things have lingered. Oftentimes, when things are lingering, like the initial thing has been treated, right? Through medical, through, physical therapy, what have you. But there's something that's happened that they're not even tying to this event, that often is why they respond and react to the pain. That's why things are still lingering. And that's why hypnosis gets to those places that the medical and physical therapy cannot.
Wonderful. Yeah. So what can folks expect? Is this going to be business centered, clinically centered? Is there going to be a workshop element? What's it going to be like coming into the room? Because it sounds like you could go in a whole lot of different directions with this, and probably break it down into 3 individual talks.
Well, they're going to get a little bit of everything. So one of the things that I'm going to share is my comprehensive intake form, the exact form that I use in order to do these intakes, to get the information from the clients to be able to help them in this capacity that I do. So I'm going to share that with every person that comes in. I have actually a little digital package to send to everybody that comes into my talk, and it includes my intake form. It includes a sample video of me with with a client to kind of show how I do that deeper intake and ask those questions to get all the pertinent information to help people. And then also to be able, it has some other infographics in there about that deeper collaboration piece, about, being able to reach out to people and collaborate from perspectives that you might not have thought of in that world. So they're going to get a little bit of that, but they're also going to get a hands-on approach. So the audience participation is often is going to be really helpful for this. Because I'm going to take them through how I work with somebody. I'm going to show them in my talk how I do this and use what we've called in this practice, we call the Knople protocol now. I even hate to talk about that because if you come to know me, I'm not one that likes to toot my own horn very much. So, but we had to call it something because it is a specialized process. I call it the combo because I don't like to put my name on it, but
understood.
Yeah, but they're going to get that. They're going to get to see that in action during my talk and how the Knople protocol works. I want to say it was in the first year that they did Michigan. I actually came and spoke on the Knople protocol. It was in its infancy. And we were building I piloted a case study around pain management with this physical therapist. They came to me, we were seeing an abundance of results. And she said, what do you think about piloting a case study with me that I'll publish in the Journal of Physical Therapy? And I said, let's do it. So when we started, it was about a year in on our 2.5-year trial. I came to Michigan. That was where they were the conference that I got to premiere this whole thing at. And so now that we're full circle and we have some data, and we're in the process of getting ready to publish, I'm able to come back and talk about that. So they're going to get, the guests are going to get some of that, get that information as well. Then that's not been released to anybody yet. It hasn't been published yet. So Michigan's getting another first from me.
Fantastic. Well, and this also should be exciting for folks that were in the talk the very first year to, as you said, come see it full circle, because that's always, we get a lot of stuff, but we don't always, complete that process. So being able to do that for the early first year people, that sounds pretty great. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that sounds exciting. And we're just a few weeks away. Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. Michigan International Hypnosis Conference. Any last thoughts before I let you go and we let everybody else go?
No, just, come to my talk. It's going to be chock full of information that even if you're somebody who doesn't specialize in pain management in your practice, if you're on the clinical side of things, you're going to get a lot of tangible things that you can take into your practice and be able to drop them in and use as a template to create your own thing and to use this across the board in the things that you do. So you won't be disappointed. You're going to get chock full of 50 minutes of everything I can give you. And even some, like I said, some wonderful tools to use afterwards, even just for coming and sitting in my talk, having that experience and those tools to use. And meeting somebody in the practice who's been there, done that. I'm happy to sit down and talk with people even after my talk, let them pick my brain, use me as a resource long after we're done at the conference. So what's it hurt to have another comrade in the field? Absolutely. One of the great unwritten benefits of the conference is exactly that right there. I mean, last year was my first year there. There are people that are returning, people that aren't returning, but either way, there are people that I have been in touch with throughout that process, folks I'm looking forward to seeing, and then maybe looking forward to seeing another year down the road because their schedule had conflicts and such. So you learn as much in the hallways as you do in the conference rooms. That's absolutely for sure. Absolutely. There you go. Michigan HypnosisConference.com for the time being. Registration is still open, but TikTok, it is almost done. Nora, thank you so much for time with me. We'll see you in just a few weeks. Yeah. And we'll see everybody else out there. Be well. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.